Hey guys, how's everybody going? Paul here, Razorback Piper guy, talking about something a little different today. Usually I'm smoking a Piper cigar on here and talking about it. That would not be very safe to enjoy that doing what we're doing today. I am going to talk to you for a few minutes and show you a couple things about reloading or hand loading for the 350 Legend cartridge. Now, a lot of people are talking about this. It's fairly new. I know the cartridge isn't that new, but it's a few years old now. I picked one up because Arkansas just went to straight walled cartridge in lieu of muzzleloaders. We no longer have a muzzleloader season. We now have an alternative firearm season, and you can use straight walled cartridge as long as it's not in an automatic platform. I believe it has to be the 30 or 35 caliber or larger. So I picked up a 350 Legend and I've been playing with it, and there's some talk about how the reloading of it is a little different, and it is, but it's not hard. You won't have any trouble with it if you keep in mind it's kind of a hybrid between a loading pistol cartridges and loading bottleneck rifle stuff. If all you load is rifle and you've never loaded pistol before, there'll be a few extra steps in there that you're not used to. And likewise, if you reload for pistol, but you don't reload for rifle, there's a step or two involved that you won't be used to. So it's not anything that's difficult. Keeping a few things in mind with the 350 Legend. It is a 350, and when you think of 35 caliber, a lot of people are using 358 bullets. I don't know the entire story on that, but I do know that bullets specific for 350 Legend, like these I've got here, I am loading the Hornady FTXs, 165 grain. These are 355. These are .355. So they're 3 1,000ths smaller than those 358s, obviously. So I don't know what that will, if it will cause any trouble. I know some people are using the .358s. I'm started with these. Now I've worked the load up for this, and I am using the powder I'm using is H110, Hodgdon's H110, W296, same stuff. And I've worked up a load. I've been to the range. I fired 50 rounds through my new rifle, and I was going up in half grain increments, and I landed my tightest groups at 26.5 grains. Now, according to the Hodgdon website, 27 is the maximum load, and I tried some at 27. Obviously, I started well below that and worked my way up. That's what you know, don't you hear people say that all the time? Do it. Don't ignore that advice. Work your way up. Be safe. 26, and I was shooting at 50 yards. I know it's not a good litmus. You know, most people shoot at 100, but at 50, you know, they were grouping inch and a quarter with most stuff, and the 26 and a half shot one ragged hole. I tried 27, and it opened up on me. I don't know if it was me, if it was towards the end of the day or what, but so I'm going to load up 50 rounds with 26 and a half. Now, I would show you all the steps, but I'm using new Starline brass. So the first step we don't have to do. When you are sizing 350 Legend, if you're used to pistol stuff and you're not used to rifle stuff, you're not used to lubing cases before you size them. And that's one of those steps. That's the step that you will have to deal with if you're not used to rifle. You need to lubricate your cases before you run them through your sizer die. I have the Lee die set. It is a steel die set. When you hand load for pistols, so you go by 357 or 9mm 40 dies, the vast majority of the time they are carbide dies, and with that straight walled cartridge, you do not have to lube your brass. All right. These dies are steel, and I think most of them are for the 350 Legend. They may have a carbide die. I don't claim I know everything that's out there, but if you've got steel dies, you have to lube your brass. So if you've never had to do that before, if you're just a handgun loader, you need to lube it. So what I recommend, a lot of people use sprays. I've not had very good luck with those with bottleneck stuff. It would probably work fine with these straight wall. People have the lube pad where you squirt some lube on it and roll them. That some people swear by it. it's a pain in the butt to me. Crap gets all over the pad and it gets dirty. I'm not doing it. I use this Imperial Size and Wax. Can of it's $8 or $10, and I mean, it will literally last. I've had this can for 2 or 3 years and it's not half gone. So that's the step that I won't show because I'm using new brass. I don't have to size this. It's new Star line. It's very consistent, so I'm not sizing, but that's the key addition if you're used to pistol stuff. Now, if you're used to rifle stuff, there is a step that you're not used to, and that is in order to seat a bullet in this straight-walled case, and these bullets are flat based. You can see that base there. There's no bevel, there's no boat tail. It is a flat base bullet. If I try to seat that onto that straight wall case, it's just gonna crush the side of the brass end. So you have to flare that case mouth out, and pistol loaders are well aware of this. You have to do that all the time. You have to flare that case mouth out. Now, we're not trying to make the end of it look like a trumpet. You just flare it just enough that you can set the bullet in. So I'm gonna turn the camera down here to what I'm doing so you can, I'll load 10 rounds. Or let's just do 5. We'll load 5 rounds, that way you get a good demonstration and you're not seeing the same thing over and over 100 times. So we'll load 10 rounds. I'll get the camera pointed down there. Bear with me. All right, so I'm working on this press here. I have the Lee die. Now, the thing I like about Lee dies, if I'm loading bottleneck rifle, I don't care what brand dies I use. They're all the same. To me, I can't tell any difference between one ammunition or one round in one brand in the next. Sorry if I can speak. But if it is a straight wall case that requires that case mouth to be flared out, I prefer Lee dies. The reason is because this is a powder through expander die. There's a hole up here, it goes all the way through the die's hollow. You put your little funnel right here, and we take our piece of brass, we put it in there. Now you've got to read the instructions on this die to see how to set it right. We're going to run that up in there, and that flares that case mouth. I have my RCBS Uniflow powder measure set to throw 26.5 grains of H110. So when you run your shell up in there, you just pour the powder in the top there. Bring it down without knocking your funnel off. Set it in your loading block. We're going to do that to the next 5 cases. Remember, you don't want to flare that out too much. We don't want to overwork our brass. We want to expand it just enough to get that bullet seated in there good. I have ruined some brass before flaring that case mouth out too much. All right, so we have 5 cases that are charged with powder. So now we're going to take the seater die, the bullet seating die. Now you can set your bullet seating die to crimp and seat in the same operation. I do not like to do that. I like to seat and crimp in separate steps. So to not get any crimp on this die, when you're adjusting it for the first time, you're going to want to run your ram up, turn your die until it touches the shell holder, and that's as far as you want to go. You can see that right there, it tightens. That's as far as I have it down. If it's barely touching the shell holder, you are not applying any crimp in the seating step. So let me show you what I meant by when we were belling a while ago, if this will focus where you can see it. So this is the case, it's charged with powder. We can take that bullet and we can set it on top there, barely. We can't get it down very far. It'll just barely line up. And that's what we want. I've already got this cedar die set for the correct depth. And that looks like a finished round, but we're going to apply a small amount of crimp in a minute. So let me seat these other 4. Guys, I've never made a video about reloading anything before, so forgive me for these awful camera angles. It's not something I've done before. It's something I love to do and wouldn't mind doing, but I've never tried to do it, and some people have those camera angles down, and I just don't. But I hope you learned something about 350 Legend loading today. All right, so we have 5 rounds that are loaded. So now we have to, what we're going to do is we're going to crimp it. Now, depending on what kind of rifle you're shooting, might determine how much crimp you want. I'm shooting a bolt action. I bought a Mossberg Patriot. It's fed by a box magazine. I do not have to have a heavy crimp, okay? If you're shooting an AR or something of that, I just don't know. I'm not an AR guy. I don't know if you would need more crimp for that or not. I know for a bolt action rifle, you do not need a lot. Matter of fact, when I load, the main 2 I load for 30-06 and 243, I don't crimp them at all. I consider neck tension to be plenty to hold that bullet in place without any bullet setback. With this, we're going to apply a light crimp. The only reason we're going to do that is to, remember, we expanded that case mouth out to accept that bullet. Now we are going to just crimp it a tiny bit just to remove that flare that we created. Now I have heard some people that load for this round that do not apply crimp. They are flaring the case mouth out to such a small degree that they're not having to apply any crimp at all. There is certainly nothing wrong with that. This is the way I prefer to do it, just to make sure that you know, I think I might put a little bit more crimp than they do on it. So I just want to make sure that that crimp is taken out of there. So that is a finished round. We have applied a light crimp to remove that bell, that flare that we made. That's the only issues with 350 Legend, guys. It's not that it's difficult. There's just an extra step or 2 involved. If you're used to reloading for handgun, you got to lube your brass. Then you got to clean that lube off good before you finish loading it. That's a step you don't normally do if you're a pistol loader. If you're a rifle loader, you've got to flare that case mouth and potentially apply a light crimp to take that flare out. That's the only difference I know of. The only other difference, it's being shot out of a rifle and it takes a Magnum pistol powder, but that's just load data. So don't be intimidated by 350 Legend. It is not hard to load for. There is just an extra step or 2 involved. I hope that helps somebody. If you got any questions, shoot them down there in the comments, guys. Maybe I'll do some more loading stuff soon. I don't know. If I do, I promise I'll learn how to do my camera angles better. Till we talk again, guys, go forth and do good.